I never thought my life would shatter into pieces at 43. After 18 years of marriage to Catherine, I discovered her having an affair with her personal trainer, Mark. The pain was unbearable, but I immediately knew our marriage was over. What I never expected was the second betrayal waiting around the corner. My eldest daughter, Melissa, had been actively helping Catherine cover up the affair for over a year. That revelation broke something in me that I never managed to repair. If you've ever had your trust shattered by the people closest to you, let me know where you're watching from and hit that subscribe button. This story of betrayal and rebuilding might help you find your own path forward. Before everything fell apart, I thought we had a pretty good life. Catherine and I met in college, married young, and built what I believed was a solid foundation. I worked hard as a software engineer, often putting in 60-hour weeks to provide for our family. We had 3 amazing kids: Melissa, our responsible 17-year-old who was preparing for college; Jason, our sports enthusiast 14-year-old with dreams of making the varsity basketball team; and Emma, our artistic 10-year-old who filled our refrigerator with colorful drawings. We lived in a nice 4-bedroom house in a good school district. We took family vacations every summer. We had dinner together most nights. Were there issues? Sure, what marriage doesn't have them? Catherine and I weren't as close as we once were. The passionate romance of our early years had cooled into something more routine, but I thought that was normal after 18 years together. I still loved her, still brought her coffee every morning, still listened to her talk about her day. About a year before everything imploded, Catherine became intensely focused on fitness. She joined an upscale gym that cost 3 times what our previous membership did, but I supported it. She deserved to do something for herself, and if looking good made her feel good, who was I to object? She hired a personal trainer named Mark, a 30-something, former college athlete, with perfect teeth and the kind of muscles you only get when working out is literally your job. Looking back, the signs were all there. Catherine changed the passcode on her phone after years of us knowing each other's. She bought new clothes, not just workout gear, but fancier lingerie that I rarely saw her wear. She started having more girls' nights out that would keep her away until midnight or later. When she was home, she was distant, always on her phone, smiling at messages that she would never share. When I asked questions, she would get defensive, accusing me of not trusting her. And intimacy. That became increasingly rare, with Catherine finding excuses about being tired, having a headache, or needing to wake up early. I chalked it up to her rigorous new workout routine, figuring she was genuinely exhausted. The day I discovered the truth started normally enough. I was supposed to be away on a 3-day business trip to Seattle. I had left early Monday morning with plans to return Wednesday evening. But the client canceled our Tuesday afternoon meeting, which meant I could catch an earlier flight home. I decided to surprise Catherine and the kids, maybe suggest taking them out for dinner. I arrived home around 2 in the afternoon. The house should have been empty. Catherine worked as a paralegal and wouldn't normally be home until 5:30, and the kids were all in school. But there was Catherine's silver SUV parked in our driveway. Next to it was a red Mustang I didn't recognize. My stomach twisted with immediate suspicion, but I still tried to invent innocent explanations. Maybe she came home sick. Maybe the car belonged to a friend who drove her home. Maybe she had a day off I had forgotten about. I entered our house quietly, not intentionally sneaking, but not announcing myself either. That's when I heard it. Sounds from upstairs. From our bedroom. The bedroom we had shared for 15 years in this house. There was no mistaking what those sounds meant. I took the stairs slowly, each step feeling like I was walking toward the end of my life as I knew it. The bedroom door wasn't fully closed. I pushed it open. There was my wife of 18 years, with her trainer Mark in our bed. The bed where our youngest had been conceived. The bed where we had talked about our dreams, comforted each other through losses, planned our future. Time seemed to stop. Catherine saw me first, her eyes widening in shock and horror. "Stanley, you're supposed to be in Seattle." Mark scrambled to cover himself, looking like a trapped animal. "Man, I can explain," he stammered, though. What explanation could possibly exist? I didn't yell. I didn't throw things. I simply said, "Get out of my house." My voice was surprisingly steady. Mark grabbed his clothes and practically ran past me. Catherine pulled on a robe, her hands shaking. "Stanley, please. This isn't what it looks like." "It's exactly what it looks like," I replied, the calm in my voice, surprising even me. Inside, I was being torn apart, but years of managing crises at work had taught me to compartmentalize. "I want you out of this house today. Go stay with your sister or a friend. I'll tell the kids you had a work emergency." "You're overreacting," she tried. "It was just a mistake. We can work through this." "No, Catherine, we can't. Please be gone before the kids get home from school." I turned and walked downstairs, ignoring her calls and pleas. I sat in my home office with the door locked until I heard the front door close and cars pull away. Then I allowed myself 10 minutes to fall apart before the kids would be home. The next morning I contacted a divorce attorney. I needed to protect myself and my children. I gathered what evidence I could of the affair, though in our state it wouldn't matter much legally. Catherine had moved to her sister's house, and we were communicating only through brief texts about the children. Telling the kids was one of the hardest things I've ever done. I sat them down that weekend and explained that their mother and I were separating. I didn't mention the affair, just said that we had grown apart and weren't happy together anymore. Jason punched a wall and stormed out of the house, not returning for hours. Emma cried in my arms, asking if Mommy didn't love us anymore. But Melissa, my eldest, was surprisingly composed. She hugged me and said, "It's going to be okay, Dad. We'll get through this as a family." I was so proud of her maturity, her strength in that moment. I had no idea that her calmness came from the fact that nothing about this situation surprised her. No idea at all. The weeks following the separation were a blur of lawyer meetings, awkward custody exchanges, and trying to maintain some normalcy for my children. Catherine found an apartment about 15 minutes away, and we agreed to a temporary arrangement where the kids stayed with me during the week and with her on weekends. Throughout this turbulent time, Melissa became the glue holding our family together. She helped make dinner on nights when I worked late. She made sure Emma had her homework done, and Jason didn't skip basketball practice even when he was angry at the world. She checked in with me daily, asking how I was doing, making sure I was eating properly, and not just working myself to exhaustion. "Dad, I made a casserole for dinner," she would say, or, "Dad, don't forget Emma has her art show tomorrow." She stepped into the gap left by Catherine with such natural grace that I found myself constantly thanking her, telling her how proud I was of her maturity during such a difficult time. "Someone has to keep this family running," she would say with a smile. I interpreted this as her stepping up in her mother's absence. I was wrong. The truth came to light about 6 weeks after the separation, and it happened by accident. Melissa had left for school but forgotten to take her history textbook. I noticed it on the kitchen counter and thought I would drop it off at the school office during my lunch break. When I picked it up, I saw our family iPad underneath. The iPad was old, mainly used by Emma for games, but it was still linked to Melissa's phone through our family Apple account. A notification popped up on the screen, a text message from Catherine to Melissa. "Did you delete those photos from Dad's cloud?" Like I asked, I stood frozen, staring at those words. What photos? Why would Catherine ask Melissa to delete anything from my accounts? It didn't make sense, unless there was something they wanted to hide from me. With shaking hands, I unlocked the iPad. More messages appeared. Conversations between my daughter and my wife going back months before I discovered the affair. "Mom, you need to be more careful. Dad almost saw your text when your phone was on the counter. I covered for you last night, but you need to come up with better excuses than yoga workshop. Dad knows your gym doesn't offer yoga." I deleted the browser history on the family computer. "Don't use it again for messaging, Mark." Message after message revealed a coordinated effort to deceive me. My 17-year-old daughter had been actively helping her mother cheat on me, lying to my face, manipulating situations to prevent me from discovering the truth. I couldn't believe it. I didn't want to believe it. I sat down at the kitchen table, iPad in hand, trying to process this second betrayal. I considered alternative explanations. Maybe Melissa was being manipulated or threatened by Catherine. Maybe she felt caught in the middle and didn't know what to do. But the messages showed a willful participation that couldn't be explained away. She had warned Catherine when I was coming home unexpectedly. She had deleted evidence from shared devices. She had created alibis and backed up her mother's lies. When Jason came home from school that day, I asked him if he knew anything about his mother's affair before I discovered it. He avoided my eyes, clearly uncomfortable. "Jason, please. I need to know the truth." He sighed heavily. "Melissa knew. She's been covering for Mom for a long time." "How long?" I asked, my voice barely audible. "I don't know exactly, but months at least. She would pick Mom up from places that weren't the gym. She would tell you Mom was at work events when she wasn't." "Did you know too?" I asked, afraid of the answer. I suspected something, he admitted. "But Melissa told me to mind my own business, that Mom and her had it handled. I didn't know it was an affair for sure until you found out." That evening, I confronted Melissa when she got home from her student council meeting. She immediately knew something was wrong from my expression. "Dad, what's going on?" she asked, setting down her backpack. I placed the iPad on the counter, the messages visible. "I need you to explain this." She glanced at the screen and her face went pale. She tried denial first. "I don't know what those are. Maybe Mom was talking about something else." "Melissa, please don't lie to me anymore. I've seen enough messages to know you were helping your mother hide her affair." Her composure cracked. Tears filled her eyes. "I was trying to protect our family. By lying to me, by helping your mother betray me. Mom said it was just a phase, that she was going through something and would end it soon," Melissa explained, her voice breaking. "She said if you found out you would divorce her and our family would be destroyed. I thought I was helping keep us together." "How long?" I asked. "How long have you known and been helping her?" She looked down at her hands. "About 14 months. The timeline hit me like a physical blow. Over a year. My daughter had been watching me be deceived for over a year. She had sat across from me at family dinners, celebrated my birthday, accepted my help with college applications, all while knowing her mother was making a fool of me. "You deleted messages from my phone," I said, remembering times when my phone had been moved from where I left it. She nodded. "When you were sleeping or in the shower. Mom would tell me when she thought you might have seen something, and you picked her up from being with him." Another nod. "A few times, when she said she was with her friends." The betrayal felt complete. For over a year, my daughter had watched me love and provide for a family that was built on lies. She had actively participated in that deception. "Why?" I asked, my voice breaking. "Why would you do this to me, Mom? Said it would ruin everything if you knew." She said she just needed time to figure things out. I believed her when she said it was temporary. Melissa was crying openly now. "She's my mom, Dad. She asked me to help her." What was I supposed to do? I had no answer. In that moment, I couldn't even look at her. This child I had raised, loved, protected, had been complicit in causing me the greatest pain of my life. I walked out of the kitchen without another word, locked myself in my bedroom, and for the first time since discovering Catherine's affair, I broke down completely. The days following my discovery of Melissa's betrayal were some of the darkest of my life. I functioned on autopilot, going to work, ensuring Jason and Emma were cared for, but inside, I was drowning. I couldn't look at Melissa without seeing her deception. Every memory of the past year had been poisoned, recontextualized by the knowledge that she had been actively helping Catherine fool me. I sought help from my therapist, who I had been seeing since the separation. drcoder.com. Marshall listened as I poured out this new layer of betrayal. "Stanley, what your daughter did was wrong," he acknowledged. "But I want you to consider the position she was in. Her mother, an authority figure she trusts and loves, asked for her help and loyalty. She was manipulated into believing she was protecting your family. She's 17, not 7, I countered. She knows right from wrong. She knows lying is wrong. Yes, but adolescents can be surprisingly vulnerable to manipulation, especially from parents. This is actually a form of parental alienation where one parent uses a child as a pawn against the other. I understood the concept intellectually, but emotionally, I couldn't separate Melissa's actions from the pain they caused. Every time she had looked me in the eye and lied, every time she had deleted evidence or created an alibi for Catherine, she had chosen her mother's infidelity over my right to know the truth. My closest friend Alan offered a different perspective over beers in his garage. "It's the ultimate betrayal, man," he agreed. "If it were me, I don't know if I could ever trust her again." "That's what I'm struggling with," I admitted. How do I move forward with my daughter when every time I look at her, I see someone who conspired against me? Maybe you don't, at least not right away, Alan suggested. Sometimes you need distance to heal. I researched the psychological effects of involving children in adult deceptions. The literature confirmed what Dr. Marshall had suggested. Catherine had put Melissa in an impossible position, creating a damaging loyalty conflict. But understanding why Melissa had done what she did didn't erase the wound. I tried to see things from her perspective. She was caught between two parents. Her mother had likely framed the situation as temporary and harmless. Catherine was manipulative enough to make Melissa believe she was actually helping our family by keeping secrets. But regardless of the psychological explanations, I couldn't reconcile with the fact that for 14 months, my daughter had watched me live a lie and had actively helped maintain that deception. Every "I love you, Dad" during that time felt hollow now. Every father-daughter moment was shadowed by her knowledge that she was betraying me. We attempted family therapy, but it was a disaster. Catherine minimized Melissa's role, claiming she had barely involved our daughter. Melissa continued to justify her actions rather than truly acknowledging the harm she had caused. "I was just trying to keep the peace," she insisted. "Mom said it would blow over." "For 14 months, I asked. You watched me be deceived for over a year. You helped create that deception." "I'm sorry you're hurt," she said, "but I was trying to protect our family." That was when I realized neither of them truly understood what they had done. They saw my pain as an unfortunate side effect of their choices, not as the direct and predictable result. I spent weeks considering the impact on all 3 children. Jason knew some of what had happened, but hadn't been actively involved. Emma at 10 was too young to fully understand the situation. Melissa would be 18 in a few months and heading to college in the fall. I worried about my anger affecting Jason and Emma, who had already been through enough turmoil. After much thought, consultation with Dr. Marshall, and sleepless nights, I made one of the hardest decisions of my life. I would need to establish firm boundaries with Melissa and Catherine for my own mental health and healing. I accelerated the divorce proceedings, requesting primary custody of Jason and Emma. I arranged a time to speak with Melissa alone, away from Catherine's influence. We sat in a park near our house on a bench overlooking a small lake. She looked nervous, picking at her fingernails as she had done since childhood when anxious. "I've thought a lot about everything that's happened," I began, "and I've come to a decision that's very difficult but necessary for me." She looked up, fear in her eyes. "I need distance from you, Melissa. What you did helping your mother deceive me for over a year has broken something fundamental between us. Trust is like a mirror. Once it's shattered, you can glue it back together, but the cracks will always show. Dad, please." She began, tears forming. "I've apologized. I've tried to explain. I know. And intellectually, I understand you were put in an impossible position by your mother. But emotionally, I can't move past this right now, maybe not for a very long time." "What are you saying exactly?" Her voice trembled. "I'm saying that once you turn 18 next month, I think it's best if you live with your mother full-time until you leave for college. I'll continue to support you financially as we planned. Your tuition, your expenses, all of that remains unchanged. But I need to step back from our relationship." "You're cutting me off," she asked incredulously. "Your own daughter, I'm creating necessary distance," I corrected gently. "I will always be your father, Melissa. That doesn't change. But right now, every interaction with you reminds me of the betrayal, and it's preventing me from healing." "This isn't fair," she cried. "I made a mistake. I'm still your daughter. Yes, you are. And maybe someday we can rebuild. But right now, this is what I need to do for my own well-being." Catherine was furious when she learned of my decision, calling me cruel and vindictive. She threatened to fight me for full custody of all 3 children, but her attorney likely advised her that courts would not look favorably on her given the circumstances of our divorce. Explaining my decision to Jason and Emma was painful but necessary. I sat them down one evening after Melissa had gone to stay with a friend. "I want you both to know that what's happening between me and your sister doesn't affect how much I love you," I assured them. "And it shouldn't affect your relationship with her either." "But why can't she live here anymore?" Emma asked, confused. I chose my words carefully. "Melissa and I need some time apart to work through some very adult problems. It's like when you and your friend Sophia had that big fight last year and needed a break from each other. Jason, more perceptive at 14, asked directly, "This is because she helped Mom cheat, isn't it?" I nodded. Yes. And that's a very complicated situation that I don't expect either of you to fully understand right now. Is Melissa in trouble? Emma wanted to know. No, sweetie. She's not in trouble. I still love her very much. But sometimes even people who love each other need space to heal when trust has been broken. As promised, when Melissa turned 18 the following month, I implemented the no-contact approach. She moved her remaining things to Catherine's apartment. I continued to provide financial support, paying her college tuition and sending a monthly allowance through my attorney. I blocked her number on my phone and removed her from my social media. The consequences of this decision were immediately painful. I missed Melissa's high school graduation, sending my congratulations and a gift through Jason instead. I declined Catherine's sister's wedding invitation because both Catherine and Melissa would be there. When Emma had her dance recital, I arranged with the instructor for 2 separate performances so that Catherine and Melissa could attend one while I attended the other. It was not the family life I had ever imagined, but it was the only way I could see to preserve my own mental health while still being there for Jason and Emma. The wound of Melissa's betrayal ran too deep to simply forgive and forget. Some bridges once burned cannot be rebuilt. 5 years have passed since I made the decision to distance myself from Melissa. Jason is now 19 and in his sophomore year of college, studying engineering like his old man. Emma is 15, a talented artist with dreams of animation school. They both have relationships with their mother and sister, which I've always encouraged despite my own boundaries. The divorce was finalized long ago, and Catherine and I have developed a functional, if distant, co-parenting relationship focused solely on Emma. We communicate through email and a parenting app, and exchanges happen with minimal interaction. It's not ideal, but it works. My career advanced during these years partly because I channeled so much energy into work. I was promoted to senior engineering manager, overseeing a team of 20 developers. The increased income allowed me to put aside substantial college funds for both Jason and Emma, and to purchase a comfortable 3-bedroom home in a neighborhood not far from our original family home. The journey through grief and anger to something resembling peace was long and difficult. I continued therapy for 3 years, working through the complex emotions of betrayal by not just a spouse but a child. I joined support groups for divorced fathers, finding solace in sharing experiences with men in similar situations. My friends were invaluable during this time. Alan and his wife included me in family dinners and holidays. My brother visited more frequently from Chicago. Colleagues became friends as I opened myself up more at work, no longer rushing home to a family that had disintegrated. Over the years, Melissa made several attempts at reconciliation. On my birthday, the first year, she sent a long letter explaining her perspective and apologizing more sincerely than she had before. For Christmas, the second year, she sent a photo album of family memories through Jason. When she graduated college with honors in psychology, she sent me her tassel with a note saying she understood better now the damage that had been done. I acknowledged these gestures with brief, polite responses, but maintained my distance. The pain had dulled with time, but the fundamental breach of trust remained unhealed. Perhaps it always would. 3 years after the divorce, I met Laura at a community art class I took with Emma. Laura was divorced with a 12-year-old son, Michael. She had left her husband after discovering his gambling addiction had secretly plunged them into debt. She understood betrayal and the importance of trust in a way many others couldn't. Our relationship developed slowly, built on honest communication and respect for boundaries. Laura never pushed me to reconcile with Melissa, understanding that some wounds may never fully heal. When we married last year in a small ceremony, Jason and Emma stood beside me while Michael stood with his mother. It was not the family I had originally envisioned, but it was honest and loving in a way my first marriage had not been. Melissa graduated with her master's degree in family counseling last year. Jason told me she specialized in working with children of divorce, helping them navigate complex family dynamics. I sent a congratulatory gift card through my attorney, but did not attend the graduation. When she married her college boyfriend 6 months ago, I declined the invitation, but sent a check as a wedding gift. 3 months ago, Jason called to tell me Melissa was expecting her first child, a girl. I felt a complex mix of emotions, sadness at not knowing my grandchild, but also a continued sense of peace that my boundaries had protected my mental health through these years. "She still asks about you," Dad Jason said during that call. "She understands why you needed distance, but she still hopes someday." "I know," I replied. "And maybe someday. But not yet." The truth is, I don't know if that day will ever come. Some betrayals cut too deep to fully heal. What I do know is that maintaining this boundary saved me from drowning in bitterness and allowed me to build a new life filled with trust, honesty, and joy. Today, my home with Laura, Michael, and frequent visits from Jason and Emma is peaceful. We have family game nights, summer barbecues, and honest conversations. There's no walking on eggshells, no secrets, no lies. It's what a family should be. The journey from betrayal to peace taught me that sometimes protecting your mental health means making painful choices. Sometimes forgiveness is possible without reconciliation. Sometimes the family you rebuild is healthier than the one you lost. Have you ever had to set a difficult boundary with someone you loved? How did it affect your healing process? Share your story in the comments below. Your experience might help someone else facing a similar painful decision. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe to hear more real-life experiences. And if you know someone struggling with betrayal or difficult family decisions, consider sharing this video with them. Thank you for listening to my journey, and I wish you strength and clarity if you're facing your own difficult choices.